an incomplete autumn. Autumn in New Zealand always carries a captivating and tranquil beauty. The roads are lined with towering trees, their leaves turning shades of vibrant red and golden yellow, gently falling with every breeze. On the rolling hills, green grass is interspersed with blankets of fallen leaves, creating a landscape both warm and wistful. The sky stretches clear and blue, the air crisp, while flocks of birds soar, leaving their melodious songs in the serene air. In the countryside, a small house nestled under tall trees stands amidst this poetic scenery, harboring a sorrowful tale of a man who once brimmed with ambition, but now lives in the shadow of his memories. Mrs. High, a resilient and hard-working woman, brought her 4 children to New Zealand after her husband passed away. Life in a foreign land was far from easy. She entrusted her children to relatives' care while she devoted herself to her nursing job, saving up to buy a house. She constantly reminded herself,
I must persevere so my children can have a bright future.
Her 3 eldest daughters, in the absence of their mother's embrace, studied diligently and achieved remarkable success. They gained admission to prestigious universities and began to build their careers. Lynn, the youngest son, was different. Growing up without his mother's close presence, he gradually strayed and fell into bad company. However, through his mother's persistent guidance, Lynn eventually completed his nursing studies and began working at a care home, tending to elderly patients. Life seemed to have settled into a peaceful rhythm until Lynn met Mai at an autumn gathering, a Chinese woman with long, silky black hair and striking, intelligent eyes. Mai was 3 years older than Lynn and a student aspiring to settle in New Zealand. They often strolled along autumn paths, their laughter blending with the poetic surroundings. Lynn was enchanted by Mai's gentleness and wisdom, and his warmth and charm made her feel secure. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and before long, they moved in together. Every morning, the soft autumn sunlight streamed through the wooden-framed windows, casting a gentle glow on the hardwood floors. My mother often sat by the window, gazing at the backyard garden where leaves fell silently under an old oak tree. Lynn would bring her a cup of freshly brewed coffee, smiling. I promised I'll buy you that dress. Smiling. I promised I'll buy you that dress you like today. But as always, the promise slipped his mind. My mother flecked, disappointed, but refrained from complaining. She loved Lynn and hoped their love could overcome any challenge. One day, Lynn decided to speak to his mother about marrying my murderer. But Mrs. High and Lynn's sisters strongly opposed the idea. In their cozy living room, under the warm glow of autumn lights, Mrs. High's voice grew stern.
Lynn, I only wish for you to marry a Vietnamese woman, someone who shares our Buddhist faith and family values. Mai is not suitable for you. She's older and only wants to use you to gain residency. She will leave you someday.
Though Mrs. High and Lynn's sisters had never met Mai, their minds were already made up. To them, Mai's different cultural background and beliefs were insurmountable barriers. Lynn tried to explain his love for Mai, but his words were futile. Each time he suggested introducing Mai, Mrs. High would retort firmly.
Don't bring her here. I won't accept it.
You're blinded by her beauty. Don't let her take advantage of you. You're still young. Don't throw your life away over appearances.
Despite the opposition, Lynn stood by Mai. He comforted her.
Don't worry, Mai. I'll convince my family. We just need more time.
But time did not ease the tension. The constant disapproval and lack of recognition from Lynn's family wore Mai down. One cold autumn night, as Lynn lay sound asleep, Mai quietly packed her belongings and left. She left behind a brief note.
I've returned to China. It's too difficult here. Forget me and live well.
Lynn woke to an empty house. He searched for Mai, called her, sent messages, but to no avail. In the months that followed, Lynn sank deeper into despair. He moved back in with his mother, but he was no longer the strong man he once was. He quit his job, spending his days at home, smoking and clutching the photographs of Mai. When Mrs. High burned those pictures, all that remained was an empty shell of a man. Mrs. High watched her son with a heavy heart. One day, standing beside Lynn, she sighed deeply, her eyes clouded with sadness.
Lynn, don't let your life drown in the past. Move forward. Find new happiness.
But Lynn stayed silent, his gaze distant. Mrs. High often returned to Vietnam, releasing birds in prayer for Lynn's recovery. She introduced several Vietnamese women to him, but he always refused. Lynn, who once used cigarettes to relieve stress, now leaned on them more heavily. Cigarettes became his sole companion in the lingering pain of losing Mao. His mother and sisters urged him repeatedly.
Smoking harms your health, Lynn. Stop it.
He tried, but failed. Each time loneliness crept in. His inability to overcome his grief left Mrs. High and his sisters in growing despair. They could only hope that one day Lynn would find his way back to himself. Time passed, but Lynn remained a shadow of his former self, living in quiet solitude. Mrs. High and her daughters stood by him, hoping for the day Lynn would awaken from his sorrow. This autumn, as beautiful as ever, painted the world in hues of gold and red. But in the small house under the towering trees, a man still clung to the fleeting image of a lost love. Standing by the window, gazing at the garden littered with fallen leaves, Mrs. High murmured,
No matter how beautiful autumn may be, it cannot revive hearts that have turned cold. Lynn, my only wish is for you to find the meaning of life again.
This story closes with a gentle melancholy, serving as a poignant reminder that in life one must sometimes let go of the past to seek new happiness. Prejudice and stubbornness can often lead to the loss of life's most precious treasures.
Vocabulary, words with definitions and examples from the story. An incomplete autumn. 1. Captivating, extremely attractive or charming, holding one's attention. Example, the autumn scenery in New Zealand was captivating, drawing the attention of everyone who passed by. 2. Tranquil, calm and peaceful, free from disturbance. Example, the tranquil countryside offered a perfect escape from the bustling city life. 3. Wistful, present melancholy or yearning, often tinged with nostalgia. Example, Lynn gazed at the autumn leaves with a wistful expression, lost in thought. 4. Resilient, able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. Example, Mrs. High's resilient spirit helped her overcome the challenges of raising her children alone. 5. Diligently, in a way that shows care and perseverance in one's work or duties. Example, Lynn's sisters studied diligently, achieving success in their academic pursuits. 6. Serene, calm, peaceful and untroubled. Example, the serene air of the countryside was broken only by the soft chirping of birds. 7. Melodious, pleasant sounding, having a harmonious tune. Example, the melodious songs of birds added to the beauty of the autumn morning. 8. Persistent, continuing firmly or obstinately in a course of action despite difficulty. Example, Mrs. High's persistent efforts ensured her family's future. 9. Blossomed, developed or grew in a healthy or promising way. Example, Lynn and Mai's relationship blossomed as they spent more time together. 10. Stern, serious and unrelenting, especially in the assertion of authority. Example, Mrs. High's stern expression made it clear that she would not accept Lynn's relationship with Mai. 11. Opposition. Opposition, resistance or dissent, expressed in action or argument. Example, the opposition from Lynn's family caused tension in his relationship with Mai. 12. Despair, a complete loss or absence of hope. Example, Lynn sank into despair after Mai left him without a word. 13. Ambition, a strong desire to achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. Example, Lynn was once a man full of ambition, determined to make a difference in his field. 14. Shadow of his memories, a lingering sadness or burden caused by past events. Example, the man now lived in the shadow of his memories, haunted by his regrets. 15. Frugal, economical in use or spending, sparing. Example, Mrs. High lived a frugal life, saving every penny for her children's future. Phrases with definitions and examples from the story. An incomplete autumn. 1. Gently falling, slowly descending in a smooth and delicate way. Example, the autumn leaves were gently falling, creating a carpet of red and gold on the ground. 2. Cast a gentle glow to emit a soft and soothing light. Example, the autumn sunlight cast a gentle glow through the wooden framed windows. 3. Settle into a peaceful rhythm, to become comfortable or established in a calm routine. Example, life seemed to settle into a peaceful rhythm for Lee and Mai. 4. Blending with the surroundings, harmonizing or becoming indistinguishable from the environment. Example, their laughter blended with the surroundings, adding warmth to the cool autumn air. 5. Soft autumn sunlight, mild warm sunlight typical of the autumn season. Example, the soft autumn sunlight illuminated the living room with a warm golden hue. 6. Wore someone down, gradually reduce someone's strength, patience, or determination. Example, the constant disapproval from Lynn's family wore my down over time. 7. Sank deeper into despair, to become increasingly hopeless or despondent. Example, after my departure, Lynn sank deeper into despair, unable to find solace. 8. Clutching the photographs, holding on to pictures tightly, often with emotion. Example, Lynn spent hours clutching the photographs of Mai, unable to let go of the past.
9. Under the warm glow of autumn lights, bathed in the soft golden light typical of autumn. Example, the family's heated discussion took place under the warm glow of autumn lights. 10. An empty shell of a man, someone who has lost their vitality or essence, often due to emotional trauma. Example, without Mai, Lynn became an empty shell of a man, his former self unrecognizable. 11. Poetic surroundings, a setting that is picturesque and evokes deep emotion or contemplation. Example, the couple often walk through the poetic surroundings of the autumn woods. 12. Sorrowful tale, a story filled with sadness or regret. Example, the small house harbored a sorrowful tale of unfulfilled dreams and lost love. 13. Firmly opposed, strongly resistant, or disapproving. Example, Mrs. Hai remained firmly opposed to Lynn's relationship with Mai. 14. Slip one's mind to forget something, often unintentionally. Example, Lynn's promise to buy my address often slipped his mind amidst their busy lives. 15. Live well to lead a fulfilling and prosperous life. Example, Mai's parting note urged Lynn to forget her and live well,